Here we've stepped inside the gallery. We're looking at the back wall. Whoops, let's get back a little further so we can also see this wall on the side. Let's just take a quick overview as we always do. You'll notice these paintings are all square, the smallest of which is 24 inches by 24 inches. This is going to move quickly for a minute, then we'll slow down. These were all painted in the last 2 years. The medium is oil on canvas with dry pigment. That dry pigment can fall in the category of charcoal, regular mineral dry pigment, or pastel. And if there is a pastel or charcoal on the surface, it's left not diluted with a mineral spirits, it is sprayed with a fixative so it's stable and protected. Now I'm the artist in this instance. I'm also the gallery owner, so you get a special all the little tidbits in this walkthrough. And we're going to start with a different format. Let's go back to the oldest, the first piece I did in this series. And this is from 3 years ago, and it is called Waxing Gibbous. I like the square format because it keeps me away from thinking of a landscape or a portrait, which are the traditional formats for painting. This particular canvas was painted over. I had a painting in my previous exhibit that I was never content with, so I painted over it. And there's a real effort, well, there's not much effort put into these in some ways, but there is an effort to not do things. I have an effort to keep it fresh, to keep it authentic with how I am that day and what's my feelings are about that day, and also to try to stay away from recognizable objects or subject matter. I love being in the realm of full-on abstractness right now, and if anybody wants to see whatever they want to see in this, that's fine. But for me, as a painter, I love the freedom that these are giving me. This particular piece is called Underworld. It's the second piece I finished in this series. For a few years, I'd been dreaming about labyrinths, so that's kind of who knows? It's kind of maybe possibly a Jungian kind of theme running through some of these pieces. I'm not always conscious of it when I paint. I'm usually not in my brain at all when I paint, which is a nice place to leave behind. So you can see that there is some very raw pastel on top that has had to have a fixative put on it. The theme, there is something going on here that sprung from my last show. And this really looks to me as an underworld. The kind of energy that comes up from underneath or from within us. My last exhibit I called Pphanies Return. And of course, she lived in the underworld with Hades, who abducted her, brought her into that underworld, and she could only come back to visit in the spring. And that was revelatory for me as a woman in this day and age, of course, through the growing up in the 50s and 60s. the kind of way that we had to suppress ourselves, repress ourselves, or make ourselves work within this white man's world, which it was very much back then. This piece is called Tender Crops. I'm using the Middle English. When I was in high school, we had to memorize Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. When that aprili with a shura suited the root of March, it pierced to the ruta. And here we are, here's the tender crops. And again, I have no idea what this is about except a general feeling of growth and aliveness and light and buoyancy and also darkness and hurt sometimes. What I have loved about using these pigments that are outside the realm of oil paints, like pastel, you get into a pigment that is not found that easily or can be made that easily. And it's opened up my spectrum of color. Although I realize in looking at my past work, I have always, since the 70s, I've always been free with using pastels or oil pastels or charcoal mixed into my oil painting. This has an interesting backstory. This piece is called Bob's Green. And I think in the middle of the winter, a friend of mine, Julie Hain, who I represent here, brought up a tube of emerald green oil paint to me. And she brought more than that. But it was Robert Jones, who many of us know in the Northwest, fabulous painter. He had died, and these were his old paints that were left unused. And I kept this tube of emerald green for a while, like, when will I ever use this? And then this is when I used it. And it's gorgeous. And of course, nothing ever comes straight out of the tube with me. It's always mixed. This is called Bob's Green. These are 48 by 48, the larger pieces. We're going to look at some of the smaller ones. I'm sorry, I left one out here. This is the very last piece I did. And I don't even have a title for it yet. It's that fresh. It takes me a while sometimes to title my pieces. But it is 48 by 48. There's some lovely sneaky blues in the corner. And it used to be a green painting. There's a lot of green underneath. We're going to look at some of the smaller ones. And let me talk for a minute about, I'm going to swing us around the room. I'm going to go over to these pieces and talk about stopping painting for a year. Somewhere in 2022 to 2023, I stopped for a year, which is very rare for me. I was fed up with it. I felt like it wasn't feeding me. It wasn't doing anything for me, and I was giving it everything I had, and it was leaving me high and dry. It felt like an abusive relationship in some ways. And I was like, enough of this. I'm not going to do this. And so I stopped for a year. And when I came back to it, which I eventually did I missed it and I went back. And it was on my terms with, I'm not going to work so hard. I'm not going to paint so long on these paintings. I'm going to accept the most lovely, little, simple, beautiful things that I do. and they are going to be good enough. I think this is all off the top of my head. So these were the first two that I did after I divorced Art for a year. These are both 36 by 36. This one's called Rites of Spring. It's got a lot of lovely variations in there of the whites. And I found I wanted to have a oil underpainting or substrate on the canvas rather than acrylic, rather than just a gesso. I was using a really nice oil. This one is called The Dance. Again, 36 by 36. One that came in that chronology was this one, which I love, called Ambrosia. That's right, I was talking about different gods and goddesses and mythologies. I love this because it reminded me of how my younger daughter drew when she was 4 years old. And I had to just stop and say, how cool that I can get back to this place. I'm going to jump over the middle one here and go to this one. This is called Prothesis. Some of these take me back to the 50s or 40s in the style that's creeping in. I love the revealed charcoal, the unwashed charcoal, the unwashed little strokes, whether they be pastel or anyway. The dimensions on these are all 36 by 36. Let's see, after I did those 5, 6, there's another one in the closet I'll pull out. This one came along. This is called Midsummer, I think because that's when I did it. And there's something about halfway black, halfway white. I was just in that place of enjoying the way the paint's moving. There's busier underpainting. Sometimes I would get to a place where my work was starting to get a little busy. And at that point, I would do what I call the veil. I was thought of them as scrims as well, like the whitewash, the pink wash, the green wash, when they were getting a little too preoccupied with what was going on underneath. I would do my scrim or veil. I'm going to pull one out of the closet and show you one there that I would do as well, and then we'll end with the very smallest piece. This is way less than ideal circumstances, but I just want to get the idea of the veil across to you. I think this is called Lavender Veil. And of course, I got a little too carried away with all the gorgeous colors. I said, let's just put this all behind a little screen. And very lastly, I have this piece called Permutations. I was curious if I could paint as small as 24 by 24. It's a rough economy right now for the arts. And I know this is not a good time to be making 4 feet by 4 foot paintings in this area, but sometimes I don't have much of a choice. So I started to try to make a lot of small paintings, and I did make a lot of little ones that were 12 by 12, and none of them are any good. But this one I was satisfied with. So this is what we have here. It's up through the month of August. And I will be giving a talk in the gallery on Saturday, the 16th at 4 p.m. Hope you can make it. Thank you.